Hello and welcome. Today I'll be sailing in the Montana. This is the tier 10 US battleship and probably the best battleship in the game right now. I'll be sailing towards the usual place that battleships on the map north go, which is to the area where the A cap would be on domination. The idea is that if I go along that path, the enemy team's battleships are going the same way and I'll be able to shell them from afar. Many people say that sitting back and sniping with battleships isn't very good for their team, but I kinda disagree. At least in the sense that if I rush in, the likelihood of me being met with many torpedoes by the various destroyers that the enemy team has is very high. And well, that just ends up leading to a quick death. Also, if you actually read the chat, then you'll see that I'm not being very nice to the enemy carrier. The reasoning is that if I aggravate the enemy carrier a little, they are much more likely to attack me on their first attacks. And since I am in the Montana that has very powerful anti-air, that's just good for my team because I'll be relatively safe against the attack and somebody else on my team won't have to take a lot of damage. So the North Carolina is in range and I'll take a shot at him. Although I think I didn't lead properly. Well, I mean, I led fine, but the distance wasn't quite right. But I mean, 3 hits is pretty good from 21 kilometers. I take this path, but I don't go full speed, because what I mainly want to do is shoot the enemy ships. I'm not really interested in getting there as fast as possible, because if I get there I will just have to turn around and then turn my guns around and keep shooting. If I alternate my speed from full to low or stop or even going backwards, then it gives me a lot more time to take this path. Also, it means that if destroyers shoot torpedoes at me, they're quite likely to miss because, well, I'll be turning and stopping and going faster, which means the lead indicator isn't going to give them any useful information. I don't really like shooting at IGN cruisers because they are really fast, which means you have to give a lot of lead, and they are also really, well, they aren't tall, so you have to aim really low. But if they turn even a little, that can mean that the shots will just miss. Although I did get lucky. The one shell that hit Mogami in the Citadel, which means that's a good 40% of its HP down. Right now there is nothing to shoot, everything's turned away in a bad way. I mean, I can try to take a shot at the Shimakaze, but the Shimakaze is 13 kilometers away. The likelihood of that hitting is pretty low. So I'll be taking a shot at the New Orleans instead. But I missed. I can also see torpedoes incoming, and I'd like to avoid all of them. For me at least, it's a bit troublesome when I see torpedoes coming in more or less at me from far away. I don't know, I can't exactly tell where they will be going. So I reached the edge here. I can see that there are quite many ships from my team here, but not enough on the enemy team to actually make it worth it to go out there and fight. On top of that, on the 8 line I can see an enemy battleship coming in, so it makes sense to go back and try to defend instead, since we only have like, what, 2 ships defending? So yeah, I guess this is a bit of a downtime. I mean, there isn't anything to shoot at, just torpedoes to avoid. Also, these two mines in front of me, I think they're trying to mate. Sadly, you can't make more mines that way. Would be nice though. Anyways, since this is a slower time, I think the reason why the Montana is better than the Yamato is that the Montana doesn't deal more damage per shell than the Yamato, but it has 12 guns instead of 9, which puts the damage output higher than the Yamato. Yes, the Yamato shells penetrate a bit better, but there is really no difference in almost any of the targets you're going to be shooting at. On top of that, the Montana has way stronger anti-air than the Yamato. Although in the latest patch it's going to be nerfed a little, I don't think it'll be enough. I mean, I don't think the Montana really needs to be nerfed. I just think the Yamato needs to be buffed. Yes, the Yamato has longer range secondaries and more of them, but secondaries really don't come into play that often. At least for me, they make up maybe 10% of the damage, if not even less. So I mean, it really doesn't make that much sense. And I have fully upgraded secondaries on the Yamato, which you usually won't have. So I really think that the Montana is a lot more powerful.
Enemy cruiser sunk.
Also, that cruiser had a really bad time. I mean, that was a lot of damage. But I guess that's what happens if you show your broadside at medium range to a battleship. At least it should happen. I actually like that some other people on my team are pulling back as well, because it means they are aware of what's going on in the game. I don't like however, that they left one of our battleships out to dry on the enemy side, but I guess, I mean, it's just one ship, and he seems to be having no real opposition. I hate shooting over mountains, because for some reason, often it just doesn't shoot over the mountain, even though it could. It just hits the mountain instead. I think I was pretty lucky on that shot. I mean, I thought it was going to hit all of them, land in the water, but, well, one hit the citadel and the cruiser sank. So again, don't show your broadside to a battleship. It generally is a bad idea. Actually, it generally is not a bad idea, because for some reason most people, or most battleships, can't aim that well. I don't know why. But I mean, you probably shouldn't, because at some point battleships are going to aim a lot better. The same goes for the Colorado. Why are you showing me your broadside? I mean, I could understand if you were going somewhere, but you aren't. You are just showing your broadside for no reason. You're not sailing towards the cap. You probably should be. Then you wouldn't be showing me your broadside either. But anyways, I'll be shooting at the North Carolina because the Colorado is behind it, and I don't know, I wouldn't like... I don't like how the targeting system sometimes jumps, and that could mess up the shot. But yeah, the North Carolina got hit for a good 40,000 damage. Also, he's reacting in chat. He doesn't seem to like how much damage I'm doing to him. And since the North Carolina is now at lower HP, I'll just be shooting at him instead and avoid the torpedoes if possible. The one destroyer in the cap or somewhere near it is a bit problematic, or well, was, because I didn't know where exactly he was, so he could just surprise me with a whole bunch of torpedoes at some point and kill me. Now I'll try to finish off the North Carolina, because it just doesn't make sense to leave him alive, because I want to shoot at the Colorado instead, and that would mean showing the broadside to the North Carolina. Also, I'd like to avoid these torpedoes. PS, having 8 HP left is annoying, but at least my secondaries will take care of that. Right? Secondaries? You'll kill him, right? I mean, you shot quite a lot of shots at him, so kill him already. He has 8 HP.
Main turret
And they didn't, for whatever reason. They just didn't do any damage. And that's why I don't really like secondaries. I'd really like to avoid the torpedo. And it missed. Good. Also, I don't know if the North Carolina is praising me or if he's mad. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he's praising me. And for whatever reason, the Colorado is still showing me his broadside, so he's gonna eat a lot of damage.
Confirmed penetration.
And he's dead. Now it's time to finish off the Nagato and then turn around. If I manage to avoid the torpedoes again. So many torpedoes in this game. So many. But at least they're shooting at me, which means that my team isn't just dying to them. I have a lot more faith in me being able to avoid torpedoes than most of my team. And at least the Nagato is pretty dead anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Not that worried that he'll kill me. I mean, he's showing me his broadside, which means he probably isn't that great of a player anyway. But I guess I'm showing my broadside to him too, so I'm not doing that well either.
Enemy battleship destroyed.
But at least I hit him, he didn't hit me. I would say I'm having an excellent game so far. 11 Citadel hits is quite a lot. Yeah, now comes the most exciting part of playing a battleship. Sailing in a straight line for like 2 minutes, because I finished the fight on this side and now there is nothing to do. We have to go straight for the cap because there's like 6 minutes left in the game. I mean, we might even not make it into the cap on time, which is going to be sad. But we have to try anyway. Also, there's like 2 cruisers close, but one of them is Kitakami, which means she's gonna like die in one shot. Also, since this is some more downtime, I think that anti-air changes or nerfs to the anti-air aren't really nice. I think anti-air on high-tier battleships should be strong. But I think that nerfing small caliber anti-air isn't that important. Because anti-air DPS isn't the main stat you should really be worried about. It should be the anti-air range. I mean, look at the Des Moines. The anti-air DPS on the Des Moines is really low. It's something like maybe 80 or 70. But what makes it excellent is that it has 5.7 kilometers base range, which means that if you get the commander skill and the anti-air range upgrade, you'll have like 8.2 kilometers anti-air range. Also, I'm a bit surprised I actually hit that Pepsi Cola. He was at a pretty bad angle and quite far away. I'll be shooting at him again if I can. Also, right now I think that I could eat some torpedoes once I come around this island, because they have a destroyer alive and destroyers really love shooting at people who go around islands. So I'll try to turn one way and then the other way, which means that if he shot his torpedoes a long time ago, they are likely to miss.
Enemy cruiser sunk.
Also, that cruiser had a pretty bad time as well. See, torpedoes. See, but since I turned twice, that meant that it threw my speed off, which means the torpedoes just missed. Right now it's really just cleanup, but the time is a bit worrying. I mean, it takes something like 2 or 3 minutes to cap. And we only have 4 minutes, and I would say I'm like a minute away from the cap zone. Not to mention they can reset the cap. But yeah, about anti-air, the main thing is that you need a lot more range because if the planes are attacking you, they usually drop all of their stuff before they get into the small caliber anti-air range. So getting the range up is a lot more important than getting the damage up. Which means that these AA nerfs probably aren't going to do that much. I mean, they will show that the statistics are lower and all that, but in actual gameplay, it probably won't have that much of an effect. Actually, I think that the Zao needs some anti-air buffs, mainly to range. It really isn't anywhere near on par with the Des Moines in that regard. That's a bit sad. I would even take a Baltimore for air defense over a Zao. And I mean, that's a tier 9 cruiser versus a tier 10 cruiser. And we're below the 3-minute mark already. This is a bit troubling. Hopefully the friendly Mogami will be able to avoid torpedo bombers. I mean, right now I can't exactly tell whether we're going to win or lose. I mean, we're not going to lose, but it's either a win or a draw. And a draw is pretty much like a loss for me, at least in my opinion. I'd like to avoid those torpedoes, but I don't think I can. I'll try to... Well, I mean, if they time out, then I can, of course. So, let's try to kill the Zao, and then just try to avoid torpedoes to cap.
Target penetrated.
Ooh, good hits, very good hits.
We destroyed an enemy cruiser.
And sadly, I'll be unable to avoid this torpedo. And it's looking pretty bleak for us winning the game. There's only 90 seconds left and we're not even at the halfway point. I guess taking that one torpedo was pretty bad. I should have tried to avoid it.
Problem solved, sir.
And there's some more waiting now. And try not to get hit by torpedoes. I'm actually surprised I only shot down 10 planes. But I guess the enemy carrier only attacked me once and really didn't come near me anymore. I mean, it makes sense too. Shokaku's planes will die very, very quickly to Montana's anti-air. And some more planes incoming. Dive bombers are actually excellent at stopping caps because they are more likely to hit smaller targets. But I mean, we had cruisers, so they should have used their ability to make it so they just don't hit anything. And sadly, 10 seconds to go and we don't have enough cap points, so it's going to be a draw. Oh well, at least I had an excellent game. 14 Citadel hits. But that's the Ibuki firing torpedoes at me. 3000 EXP for a draw. That's amazing. 2000 score on a draw. That really is amazing. But I mean, the enemy Shokaku did excellent as well. And 256,000 damage. That is a lot. That's a new record for my Montana. But yeah. Anyways, leave any feedback in the comments, and if you liked what you saw, then subscribe, and thanks for watching.